welcome to this edition of Dustin's Kaleidoscope. I'm Dustin, and today I have the pleasure of being here with Bridget Artise, who is a designer and author and the owner of the bookstore, Born Again Vintage. Thank you so much for being here, Bridget.
Thank you.
So I mentioned that you have several hats: author, designer, entrepreneur.
Yeah.
Can you tell us a little bit about your background?
Sure. I actually graduated from FIT. I went to University of Maryland first.
Okay.
Was a bit lost there, and then transferred to FIT after 2 years at University of Maryland, and stayed there. And I studied buying and merchandising.
Okay. And for those who do not know what FIT is, what is FIT?
It's Fashion Institute of Technology.
And that's here in New York?
That's in New York.
Okay. So you have a book, you have a store that is also named the same thing as your book. How did you, which came first, the book or the?
The book came first.
Okay.
Actually, the line came first. The Born Again Vintage clothing line came first. Then the book, and then the store, which is actually Born Again Vintage, the collective. Because I'm not the only one in my store.
Oh, okay.
I have several indie designers in there.
Okay, so can you tell us about Born Again? You said it was, what is the name of the collection? It's
Born Again Vintage.
It is Born Again Vintage?
Yeah.
Okay, so explain, so that is how you started. That was way before the book. So can you tell us a little bit about Born Again Vintage, the collection?
Born Again Vintage, the collection, is a sustainable clothing line, and it's always been that way. It's something I've done. It actually started as T-shirts, and what I did was I cut up vintage T-shirts, and I would use different letters to create these, very clever sayings, and I would put them on blanks. And so I was always drawn to the vintage. Though it was in T-shirts, it was still vintage T-shirts. And then I just kind of got antsy with the T-shirts. Excuse me. It was a lot of work cutting all the letters and sewing individual letters to make, whole sayings. So I, went into the clothing realm, and I was always drawn to vintage. I just had this passion for it. And so, a lot of people, especially vintage enthusiasts, aren't, patting me on my back and congratulating me for cutting up vintage, but but I like the prints, I like the textures, I like the patterns, and so I would cut and I would make it into something that was more wearable today.
Okay.
And so that started the line, and because the line was eco-friendly and green and sustainable, it kind of created this buzz or this, and one of the Random House editors kind of stumbled across my line on Bleecker Street in New York and loved the tagline, Born Again Vintage, loved what I was doing, and then hence the book.
Wow, that's a great story.
Yeah.
I'm surprised. I have to say, I'm surprised that vintage people would not like the fact that you are.
Well, I didn't even know until actually the book came out. I thought it was a great idea.
Yeah, I think it's a great idea.
But the vintage enthusiasts, their whole point is restoring and keeping vintage preserved. So to find out someone's actually cutting it up was a bit of a, I was like the black sheep of the vintage family. But so actually, because of that, not solely because of that, but I usually use things that are stained, or just really can't be worn. It's just been that, not defective or anything, but a whole head to toe piece of lame dress.
No one's gonna wear that. Right.
No one's
the
gonna
80s
wear
are
it.
over.
And I'm actually giving it more life. I'm allowing it to be something that's classic and one of a kind, and it's not going to get thrown out.
Exactly.
Right.
So you're not putting more things in a landfill.
Right.
And I've seen your clothes. They're very cool.
Oh, thank
They're
you.
very, very cool.
Thank you.
So after you did the Born Again Vintage collection, then came the book?
Right.
You said that and how did that come about, and what is in the book?
Well, like I said, I was a part of a collective on Bleecker in Soho called Edge, and editor, saw the pieces and saw the. She loved the tagline, Born Again Vintage, and she called me. We did a phone tag thing for several months, and then finally we caught up to one another, and she pitched the idea, and I just really just stayed silent because I was just like kind of, it's like, wow, why would I do this book? But okay. So once I got home and, it sunk in, I was just like, wow, I was overwhelmed actually. And from that meeting, it probably took maybe 14 months after that meeting and the book came out. Wow. So literally, it was really quick. It's 25 different ideas to do with your clothes, and it's broken down into seasons.
Okay.
So it's fall, winter, summer, and spring, and then there's a section for like maid of honor dresses or prom dresses. Okay. So it's just it's really an inspirational book just to kind of think outside the box as opposed to just throwing something away. Now you can, that sweater, I won't throw it away because I could turn it into a corset.
Oh,
So it just gives you ideas, but you do have the instructions. And like when it first came out, it actually became a really big thing because there's a thrift shop guide in the back. And
really?
So from
That's
A to Z
wonderful.
in all the different states. So like a lot of people were just like buying it for that because that's like a big, must have to like have all the different thrift shops in the different states.
That is what I was going to ask you next, because when I think of vintage clothing, I don't have anything really vintage. So the appendix that you talk about in the back where you would find these vintage clothes, are they stores that you would find in every city, or are they specific to a city? Like in San Francisco, you go to this store, or is it like you go to all the Goodwills?
To a city.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because I would say a good chunk of it is vintage shops.
Oh.
As opposed to thrift.
Okay.
I mean, it's like a nice mix of both.
Okay.
So the specific states have listed the vintage, and then they'll throw a couple of thrifts in there as well.
Okay, so...
And it's also not necessarily, it could be just, that sweater you had 2 seasons. That, it's just out of season, you don't know what to do with it, but you don't want to throw it away.
Right.
So it doesn't necessarily have to be vintage.
Okay. And so does your book show us how to even select vintage clothing if we don't already have it? Or how would I find out? Like, how would I even know what to look for if I went to a vintage shop? I mean, do I go and get that Chanel?
Actually doesn't tell you that. Like, you have to.
So I just have to sort of have.
You have to do that. But I think it's more of a natural pull, like what you're gravitated towards, Okay. And that's why when you're a novice at it, it's easier to go to a vintage shop, because at a thrift shop it would be way too overwhelming for someone, because you wouldn't really know what's vintage, what's not vintage, and your head would be spinning. There's so much, there's so much in there. It's like, you have to dig. I actually enjoy that, like the going through piece by piece and then finding like this gem amongst all of this, other stuff. But, for newbies, I always say to go to a vintage shop and kind of get familiar with what vintage looks like.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So in your book, you said it's based on 4 seasons. It sounds like you also have prom type dresses and wedding dresses and things like that, the more formal attire.
Right.
Is it geared mostly toward women?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. And adults. I mean, you don't have like any baby vintage.
No baby vintage. It exists, but it's no baby vintage in the book.
Okay. The question I always ask when I'm doing these, when there's a book that I should be able to follow along, how easy is it? Do I have to know how to sew very well? Do I have to know how to sew?
I get that a lot, actually, and the book is the different items or the different things you can do from the book is broken down actually by easy, intermediate.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, so every season has an easy, it has a intermediate, and so it breaks it down, because you can't really expect someone to pick it up and not, ever had sewn before to all of a sudden, know how to do this. So there's some things that just literally need a needle and thread, some things that don't need any sewing whatsoever.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
That's really great.
Not much, but some there.
But at least it has, there's something there so that you can get started, especially if you're entirely new to this.
Right.
So, so we talked about the book, Born Again Vintage, and now you said you also, there's also the store that you have. But before we go to that, where can people find your book?
Well, actually, the book is sold out.
Oh, okay.
The book is sold out. You could only get it from me directly. So that would either be you could go to the store, or you could, email me.
Okay.
And I guess you could give that information.
Yeah, can you tell us where your store is located?
Sure. The store is 219 Glenridge Avenue in Montclair, New Jersey.
Okay.
And I have it there, and like I said, you could get it from me directly. But the good news is November of this year, it will be available as an ebook.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
That sounds great.
Yes.
Okay. That's wonderful. So they can always, they can get the book. It'll be
Right.
available. Okay. So now let's talk a little bit about your store.
Yeah.
So when did you open up the store?
The store opened April 5th.
Of this year?
This year,
Okay.
brand new. And basically, it's Boarding and Vintage, the collective. And the reason why I went about doing it this way, because I just know as a designer coming up and how hard it was, trying to get out there, trying to get the promotion, trying to get people to, notice me as a brand. So by opening a store and inviting other indie designers, they have that chance to be involved on, in a store and have a address where people come see their stuff. These are some of the designers in there they're like 4 months old into this.
Wow.
So, they have this location and they make great stuff. And the key thing about the store is that everybody involved is either sustainable, handmade, or one of a kind.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's wonderful.
Yeah.
And I know a little bit later in the second segment, you're actually going to take us through some items and show us how we can actually do this ourselves.
Right.
So you said it's a collective, and I assume that are there a lot of designers in there, or a handful, or how?
It's a handful. We have some clothing designers. We have Lois Eastland, who is based out of New York. We have Clash and Lime that's local. We have Sarah Bunn, who makes really great confetti, like wrap pants.
Wow.
And these are people making it like in their house. This is just straight indie designers, independent designers, immersion designers, that, just really want to get out there, and they have great product.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's very awesome. So we have about a minute left. We're going to go to a break, and then we're going to come back, and we are going to you're going to show us how to actually do this. So one other thing I wanted to ask you before we did go to the break, when you decided that you would have a collective, was it based on the fact that you had started with one in Soho, or was it something you've always wanted to do?
Well, that's actually weird that you said that, because, being in that collective is how I got, noticed for the book.
Oh, okay.
So, I really, just you saying that just made me think of that. But, that's not the reason, but I still wanted to give that opportunity to, other independent designers. Because like I said, I've been doing it for, a while now, and I just knew it's just hard when you're independent and, you're an artist and you're trying to get out there. So, why not? Let's all share in the experience.
That's really great that you've done that.
Oh, thank you.
So we're going to be right back. This is Dustin's Kaleidoscope, and we'll see you in a minute.
Local government, local educational institutions, and local community members all use cable access TV to communicate their message. They depend upon it as an affordable means of outreach. Public educational and government access television empowers local government agencies, individuals, and groups to use the media to speak directly to their constituents in a more direct and cost-effective way. Make sure everyone has a voice. Support your local PEG channels.
Welcome back to Dustin's Kaleidoscope. I'm Dustin, and I am here today with Bridget Artise. This is the second half of the show, and Bridget, you're actually going to show us a little bit about, you're going to show us how to do this.
Yeah, I'm going to show you. So,
okay,
pay attention.
I will.
I'm gonna make sure you do a little bit of the sewing.
Awesome.
So I'm taking 2 old t-shirts. We're going to pretend that they're perhaps stained, or they've been shrunk, or there's something wrong with them. So what you do is you actually cut both of them up the back.
Okay.
Straight in the middle, up the back. And this is something that I do at pretty much all my workshops, just because this is something that is so easy to do.
Okay.
So at least if you leave the workshop, you leave with one completed item.
Okay. And where would one find out about your workshop?
The workshop you could find by going to Born Again Vintage, the collective, the page on Facebook.
Okay.
You could also go to the website, my website, which is b-artise.com.
Okay.
And I'll also list the workshops on there.
Perfect.
So now after you cut the back open on both shirts,
Okay.
you're going to...
You know, I'm just gonna have.
Sure.
Can you lift that up just to show everyone what it looks like? Because you
Straight back at the middle.
straight down the middle. Okay.
Okay, can't get
Perfect.
easier than that.
Yes.
Okay, so once you do that, now you're going to cut from the very tip of the back of the shirt, and you're just going to cut diagonally,
Okay.
like it's a triangle, and you're just going to keep going,
So you're actually going toward the front
going
now.
towards the front, and just keep turning it as you go, just so.
Okay.
And you're just going to cut diagonal, and then you're just going to go all the way up until you get to the shoulder.
Okay.
And you can cut the neck off, because, you know, when you reinvent things, you want them to look cooler, and a collar is not going to be cool. So you have the one half of a t-shirt,
Okay.
okay, with this long strip, and you got to do the other side. But the thing is, now you have this left side.
Okay.
You got to make sure you do the right side. So we started
Okay.
on the left, so this time we're going to start on the right.
Okay.
And we're going to do the same exact thing.
And you just go all the
just go
way.
all the way up.
This is a great way to use to use old t-shirts.
Absolutely.
Especially if they're stained and you can't donate them or anything, you can do this.
And I always find that a lot of people have t-shirts.
Yes.
And they always, you know, they don't know what to do with them. And so this is just a quick, and the thing is, because you're going to be our model.
Oh, okay.
And so we will show you all the different ways you can wear it. It's just like so many different ways out of this one shirt.
Wow.
So you have the two halves now.
Okay.
So let's just lift it up so you see.
Great. And
the
they
two
both, it
halves.
looks like they both have tails.
They both have tails.
Yep.
So what you're going to do is, now if you're savvy with the sewing machine, then this is like easy.
Okay.
Because literally you're just putting these two together
Oh.
and you're sewing them up the back.
And these are the two sides that do not have the tails. These are just the
Right, this is the
straight
back.
center of the back. Okay.
Right. So, you know, but we don't have a sewing machine here. So I have a needle ready. And basically, and you could sew it too. It's just you do it in a straight stitch is what
Okay.
it would be called if you did it. Of course, it's better to sew it. So you would do a straight stitch down the back.
Uh-huh.
I'll try to do it as fast as I can.
No, this is interesting.
Yeah.
Because not only are you, helping the environment by not putting more t-shirts in the landfill, but you're also making a cool item. And have you ever had occasion to also reinvent an item that you have already reinvented, like twice? Like, have you taken?
Yeah.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. Something that doesn't sell that I absolutely love, and I'm just furious that no one loved it as much as I did. I tear it apart and I put it back together as something else, because I was like, maybe they'll like it as a skirt as opposed to a jacket,
okay.
and I'll make it something completely different.
Okay. And so, does it matter what type of thread? If you're sewing it by hand, does it matter what type of thread you use, or?
Well, that's something I probably should have said. Now I'm using a yarn needle.
Okay.
With embroidery thread.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because it's a thicker hole. A little needle with regular thread would take forever and a day.
Oh.
Because you would have to you couldn't do a straight stitch.
Okay, and I'm noticing that these are pretty large stitches, maybe
Right.
3/4 of an inch or so, and there's about a half an inch in between.
And you need to be consistent.
Okay.
I'm just kind of.
But this seems like something, it's simple enough that even like teenagers or even preteens could do it as a project, if they don't have a sewing machine,
Right.
because it's pretty big. It's not like you have to get into a lot of detail.
No, like I said, it's a basic stitch, and it's easy. It's basically in and out, and you just try to stay consistent as far as the size stitches that you're doing and the type of stitches that you're doing.
And do you have to take into account the color of the embroidery thread or?
Well, yeah, you should try to match at least one of the t-shirts.
Okay.
Because chances are you will see it. The thing is with embroidery thread, it looks creative.
Oh,
so
okay.
when the back shows, if it happens to show, it'll look like it meant, it was meant to show.
Oh, okay.
So
because it
that's-
matches with
right.
one of the t-shirts or both, depending on. Now, I noticed that you picked t-shirts that are two different colors. Was that on purpose, or does it matter?
Well, it's just really hard for me to do something simple. So, I could have picked two of the same color, but
That's too easy.
yeah, it's way too easy and boring. So, I like to, because usually I like to do a t-shirt that has a lot going on graphic-wise,
Oh, okay.
and then one that's kind of plain. So
Okay.
you have, both.
And I like that this went so quickly. That just boom, just
Yeah,
done.
So I'm done.
Wow.
I'm just going to knot it.
Okay, and you just knot it like you would regular thread. There's
Right.
nothing special
Nothing
about embroidery
special.
thread.
And tie it just so it doesn't come out. And now you're going to put it on.
All right, gladly.
And
Oh, that's cool. So can you hold it
that's-
up just so we can see what it looks like after it's been sewn? And it still has the two tails right here.
still have the
And the
tails.
nice seam in the middle here. Okay.
And that's how it looks in the back.
Awesome. Okay.
And so you're going to put it on, and I'm going to show you the different ways you could wear it.
All right.
So as a top, you could just wear it hanging.
Cute. Oh, that's cute. I
Yeah.
like that.
You wear it hanging. If you don't want it hanging, you can tie it, and it becomes a wrap tee. It goes around the waist.
Wow.
And it's also, it helps you squeeze if you want to.
Yes, it
It
does.
gives you that little extra, so you would wear
I
it
like
as a
that.
wrap tee. And
Oh,
then
that's cute.
the last, you can wear it off your shoulders.
Oh, that's very cute. This took like all of 5 minutes
All
to
of 5
make.
minutes.
Very,
And so literally,
very cute.
you have all
Look
these
at that.
different
This is-
options.
it looks in the back. You have it tied, and you just did a regular
Mhm.
knot.
Regular knot.
Awesome.
And so, like going to the beach, wearing your bathing suit, you
Uh-huh.
could just wear it hanging,
That's very nice.
And that was, like I said, all of 5 minutes
Exactly.
with 2 t-shirts.
That's
So
awesome.
That's one. Now here's something
Okay.
that if you don't, now this requires no sewing.
Oh, okay.
This is like if you have a dress and it has an elastic waist, and let's say the straps broke off, the top doesn't fit anymore, there's a stain on the top, there's something wrong with the top.
Right.
What you do is, which is,
And I just want to show people what it looked
Sure.
like before. So it's just a regular little sundress. It's very cute,
Very
actually. I love
cute.
this color.
yeah.
Very nice. And it just has a little zipper in the back.
hmm
And, okay.
So what we're going to do is, luckily, this has elastic waist, and it's finished. So literally, all you have to do is make a small cut right above the waist.
And are you cutting all the way through?
I'm cutting all the way through.
Oh, okay.
And I'm literally just cutting the top off.
And so is there elastic on the bottom half?
There's elastic on the
okay.
bottom half. It will only work if it has elastic on the bottom half. Unless you know how to sew, then you could insert your own
Okay.
zipper.
Okay.
But like I said, luckily this has
Elastic in it. So.
elastic in it. So, and this requires no sewing. Because, there are people that the top is ruined and they throw the whole,
Oh, whole
The whole
dress
thing
away. How do you think about, how do you come to think about this, Bridget?
well, now it's like second nature. I can't even, just like immediately looking at your dress, I was already figuring out what I would do to it. So like, I don't look at things normally anymore. It's just like how I could cut it and what I could turn it into.
Oh, okay.
So, someone gave me this dress. I get a lot of donations. People that don't want to see their stuff end up at, the Salvation Army, which Salvation Army's fine. But, they just would rather see it have a new life or, get some more use out of it. So they'll give it to me.
Okay.
So this is something that one of my customers gave to me.
Oh, wonderful.
And
You know, one thing that we did not talk about, maybe you could tell, because I think we only have a few moments left. What is the difference between thrift and vintage? Because you work with vintage.
Right.
Okay.
Thrift has vintage.
Oh, okay.
Thrift stores have vintage. It's just harder to find.
Okay.
Vintage stores, their entire store is based on vintage, and they know the history on everything they have. They know what era it is. They know, everything about the stuff that they're selling. Thrift, you just happen upon vintage.
Oh, I see.
It's a search for vintage.
Okay. So we have about a minute left, so I want to make sure that everybody sees this. And this is a skirt now?
And this is a skirt now, and it's elastic, so you don't need a zipper or something to get in. So you could literally.
I'm going to see if I can slip this on. I'm just curious. I'm just
see.
going to slip this on because this is such a pretty.
I was going to see if you.
I don't usually get dressed on television, but hey, I'll make an exception. Wow.
Look at
I
that.
wish you could see the bottom of this. I can't jump on. I could jump on the table, but anyway, we have about a minute here. I'm here in this wonderful. I'm going to lift this up so you can sort of see it. But we have a minute here. So, Bridget, thank you so much for being here. Where can people find your store again?
It's 219 Glenridge Avenue in Montclair, New Jersey.
Okay, and your website?
The website is b-artise.com.
Okay.
And the Facebook page is Born Again Vintage, The Collective.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
Thank
This is
you.
wonderful. Thank you so much. And we're so happy to be, I'm so happy that you're here because this is great for, especially during, these times when people want to reuse and recycle their clothes. So thank you again. That is it for this edition of Dustin's Kaleidoscope. I'm Dustin, and I will see you next time. Bye.